Hello there, I'm Karim Zachary and you're watching All 24 News World News program coming to you live from Algiers. Let's begin with the headlines. Tonight, the Zionist occupation detains the Madeleine 8 ship and kidnaps its crew, while Libya clears the Steadfastness convoy toward Rafah. Coming up next, a deadly Zionist strike hits 8 centers, claiming dozens in Nusayrat, Gaza City, Khan Yunis, as a child succumbs to starvation. Also in our news, clashes erupt in the Libyan capital, Tripoli. The unity government vows to act as rights groups warn the fragile truce hangs by a thread. And in Los Angeles, National Guards are deployed. President Trump calls for crackdown while the UN urges calm. This story and more shortly. Welcome back to the program. We begin with the latest development in Gaza, where the Madeleine ship, a mission to break the blockade of Gaza, was intercepted by the Zionist entity. The Flotilla Coalition reports that the Madeleine was forcibly intercepted in international waters with its 12-member crew who were delivering vital aid to the people of Gaza were taken into custody. The humanitarian shipment intended to provide life-saving support has been confiscated. International media now reveal that the detained activists are being held in separate cells at Ramallah prison, located northwest of occupied Al-Quds.
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
Hi everyone, my name is Rima Hassan. I'm French-Palestinian. I am aboard the humanitarian vessel going to Gaza. If you are seeing this video now, it's because we've been stopped by the Israeli army or their complicit allies. We count on your mobilization to put pressure on the French government to demand our release.
And in reaction, the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement, Hamas, has placed full responsibility for the safety of the international solidarity activists aboard the Madeleine squarely on the shoulders of the Zionist occupation. In a Facebook post Sunday, senior Hamas official Bassem Naim said those on board were risking their lives to break the barbaric blockade on Gaza. He condemned Israeli threats against sea and land missions, saying they will not deter global solidarity efforts. Meanwhile, as Gaza endures nearly 2 years of relentless suffering, many residents now fear for the safety of the humanitarian activists aboard the Madeleine ship, which was intercepted by the Zionist forces last night. Locals describe the treatment of the Solidarity crew as terrorists, denouncing the brutal tactics by the occupation against those bringing aid. Zara Ferjani reports now.
In a world increasingly attuned to humanitarian crises, the recent interception of the Freedom Flotilla, a civilian-led mission brimming with hope and aid for Gaza, has ignited a firestorm of international outrage. This seizure, widely perceived as an act of piracy, has not only sparked protests across the globe, but has also drawn fierce condemnation from the Palestinian community. Palestinian residents are voicing their indignation, labeling the interception a blatant act of terrorism aimed at silencing those who dare to stand in solidarity with their beleaguered compatriots.
We're
grateful to the Madeleine crew for their brave and noble act. We hope they are safe after the Israeli army took control of the ship, which is now being redirected to the port of Ashdod. We call on Arab nations and the international community to send a fleet of 20 to 50 ships to follow in the Madeleine's path and help break the blockade on Gaza. This is a clear attempt to intimidate people who stand with us, to stop others from doing the same.
Gaza residents hold deep respect for the 12 activists on board the humanitarian ship, who did not hesitate to risk their lives despite the threats. Setting sail from Italy on June 1st, these brave souls defied threats and surveillance, determined to deliver symbolic humanitarian aid to the war-torn enclave.
Things are unbearable in Gaza. We're losing people every day. The bloodshed doesn't stop. We thank the Medellin for coming. But why did the Israelis do this? Because they have no intention of ending the conflict. If they did, they wouldn't have attacked.
The Medellin, a British flagged ship, sought to challenge the Zionist-imposed blockade and shine a spotlight on the dire conditions in Gaza, where the humanitarian crisis has reached staggering proportions after nearly 20 months of relentless bombardment and siege. This audacious endeavor transcended mere aid delivery. It was a clarion call to the global conscience, urging the world to break its silence and take action against the blockade.
Staying with the same story, Hamas says the Medellin ship and solidarity convoys from Algeria, Tunisia, Jordan and beyond are proof that the Zionist propaganda is failing. In a statement on Monday, the group praised international activists for standing firm in the face of threats, insisting Gaza is not alone. Hamas demanded the immediate release of the detained crew and held the Zionist entity fully responsible for their safety. It also called on the United Nations and global bodies to condemn the interception and take urgent steps to end the blockade on Gaza.
Medellin and the land convoys of steadfastness coming from Algeria, Tunisia, Jordan and others are living testimony to the failure of Zionist propaganda. We salute the free solidarity activists of various nationalities who face the threats with steadfastness and confirm that Gaza is not alone. We demand the immediate release of the activists and hold the occupation fully responsible for their safety. We also call on the United Nations and international organizations to condemn this crime and take urgent action to break the siege on our people.
In a similar show of regional support, Russia Today reports that Libya's government of national unity has approved the entry of the resilience convoy through the Ras Jdir border with Tunisia, aiming to break the siege on Gaza. Citing a GNA official, the convoy will head to Zawiya for initial coordination with the Libyan campaign to assist the Palestinian people. From there, it will continue to Misrata to bolster humanitarian support, gathering food, medical aid, and volunteers. The move marks a significant show of regional solidarity with Gaza. Likewise, the Tunisian steadfastness convoy to lift the siege on Gaza set off on Monday, carrying volunteers from across the Maghreb, including Tunisia, Algeria, Libya, and hundreds from Morocco. Organized by the Joint Action Coordination for Palestine, the convoy is heading toward the Gaza Strip, calling for an end to what they describe as the Zionist war of extermination. Participants are demanding the immediate lifting of the blockade and the urgent delivery of humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, violence on the ground in Gaza has intensified. At least 15 Palestinians were killed and dozens more injured early Monday as Zionist forces launched new attacks near aid distribution centers in Gaza. According to the Palestinian news agency, gunfire broke out in the Alam area west of Rafah as displaced civilians waited for food. Meanwhile, Al Auda Hospital in Nusayrat reported 31 wounded from the Zionist drone strikes near Wadi Gaza, also known as the Nazarene Axis. Well, these Palestinians left in search of flour and became the latest targets of Zionist fire. Families who had waited anxiously for their return are now, unfortunately, mourning loved ones lost in another massacre. Let's get the story with Salman Asib now.
In the city of Rafah, the air is thick with sorrow, as entire families mourn the loss of loved ones, victims of a brutal attack at an aid distribution point. The promise of humanitarian assistance turned into a nightmare when gunfire erupted, claiming the lives of 5 individuals, including Khaled al-Attar's brother and nephew Saeed.
They said there was 8, and they shot at people who came to get it. 5 people were martyred, including my brother and my nephew Saeed. He went to get flour, and now his mother is welcoming him as a martyr. How is she supposed to react to this? What's happening is simply unacceptable. We lose martyrs every day just trying to get food.
Eyewitness accounts paint a harrowing picture of the chaos that ensued. Hussein Shamia recounts his experience of leaving home at dawn, only to be ambushed by armed groups.
I left at 4 in the morning, and when we returned, we were ambushed by Yasser Abu Shabab's group. They lined us up and started executing some people. I saw them in front of me. They were shooting at people right in front of us. They executed, shot men before our eyes, and all we could do was take them to the Red Cross and leave. There was absolutely no way we could react, expect to take the martyrs with us.
We can't feed our children, we can't buy anything. We have no money, and everything is expensive. We go looking for help and see our own deaths before our eyes. We risk our lives only because our children are begging for food. They want to eat, and we can't give them anything.
As the remains of the martyrs are returned to their grieving families, the scene is heart-wrenching. The final farewells are laden with anguish, as these individuals who ventured out in search of sustenance have become symbols of the ongoing tragedy inflicted by the conflict.
And in Khan Younis, yet another deadly night. Zionist airstrikes killed at least 20 displaced Palestinians, including women and children, according to medical sources at Nasser Hospital. Airstrikes also hit tents in Al-Mawasi, leaving 14 dead. 2 more were killed in Abasan al-Kabira, and 2 brothers lost their lives in the city center. Meanwhile, 18 Palestinians were killed in northern Gaza, including 10 in Shuja'iyya and several others in Jabalia and Zaytun. A child also died in shelling on a Tawam amid ongoing home demolitions and widespread destruction. And speaking to our channel, the director of Al-Auda Hospital in central Gaza says 3 people were killed after Israeli forces targeted relief teams in the Nusayrat camp. Dr. Marwan Abu Nasser confirmed that 28 others were wounded overnight, many with injuries to the upper body. The victims were caught in renewed Zionist fire across the central Gaza Strip as humanitarian workers and civilians continue to bear the brunt of the conflict.
Al-Auda Hospital received around 28 injuries, and unfortunately most of them were in the upper body areas. The incident began around the second third of the night, and there was also an attack on the security teams present in the Nusayrat camp, resulting in the arrival of 3 martyrs from the security teams.
Similarly, the director of Al-Auda Hospital in central Gaza, Marwan Abu Nasser, has described the health situation as increasingly dire. He told our channel the blockade and occupation's ongoing restrictions on medical supplies have created a complex and worsening crisis. Let's take a listen.
The field and health conditions in the central governorates are adding to the burden on Al-Auda Hospital in Nusayrat, amid a complex healthcare situation caused by the closure of crossings, the lack of medical supplies and medications, as well as the malfunctioning of some medical equipment, which hinders the work and interventions of medical teams.
According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza, 47 were killed and 388 injured across the Strip in the last 24 hours. In a statement on Monday, officials said the overall death toll from what they describe as the ongoing Zionist genocidal war has reached 54,927, with more than 126,000 wounded. Since the resumption of hostilities on March 18th, over 4,600 people have been killed. And in one out of many tragic cases, a baby girl has died from malnutrition in Khan Yunis as Gaza's humanitarian crisis worsens. Medical sources at the maternity and children's hospital, part of the Nasser medical complex, told Al Aqsa TV the infant was in intensive care but succumbed to starvation and a severe lack of food and medicine. They blamed the occupation's ongoing blockade, which has blocked humanitarian and medical aid from entering the Gaza Strip for months. Turning now to Libya, heavy clashes rocked several neighborhoods in the Libyan capital, Tripoli, late Sunday into the early hours of Monday. Residents reported hearing explosions and bursts of gunfire overnight as fires broke out in the areas near the city center. The Libyan Red Crescent, meanwhile, moved in to take precautionary measures around buildings close to the fighting. The cause of the violence remains unclear as tensions between rival armed groups continue to threaten stability in the capital. In response, Libya's government of national unity says it's ready to take all necessary measures to uphold security and sovereignty following overnight clashes in Tripoli. In a statement on Monday, the Ministry of Defense said sudden armed movements were detected in parts of the capital, prompting state forces to intervene, forcing dissenting groups to retreat. The ministry reaffirmed its commitment to the Army's Supreme Commander, an ongoing military and security arrangement aimed at stabilizing the capital.
Over the past hours, the Ministry of Defense has monitored sudden field movements witnessed in some areas of the capital in a clear violation of the calm arrangements and approved security understandings. Immediately upon monitoring these movements, the ministry intervened on the ground through its official channels and was able to control the situation and enforce respect for the truce, which led to the withdrawal of the violating elements and their return to their previous positions.
Meanwhile, Libya's National Institution for Human Rights is warning against any breach of the fragile ceasefire in Tripoli. In a statement Monday, the institution called for strict adherence to security arrangements laid out by the Presidential Council, stressing that maintaining the truce is vital for stability in the capital. It urged all armed groups to withdraw immediately to their barracks, saying any escalation could jeopardize efforts toward lasting peace and security in the country. Moving on to Western Sahara now, where in the occupied city of El Ayoun, Sahrawi activists reaffirmed their unwavering commitment to the struggle for self-determination. At a gathering marking Martyrs' Day, members of the Coordination Mechanism for Action, along with human rights advocates, declared there would be no turning back from their fight for independence. They honored the legacy of those who died for the cause, calling their sacrifice a lasting debt owed by every Sahrawi in the pursuit of liberation.
We remain committed to this cause and to the goals of the Popular Front. This is a message from us as activists in the occupied territories that we send to Gali, to Tani, and to Sahrawis wherever they are. We are continuing, we are steadfast in this goal. No decision from here or there will affect us. Since the day we, as the Sahrawi people, began commemorating June 9th, our objective has been the liberation of the homeland, the reunification of our people, the return of the refugees, and full independence.
We commemorate the martyrs despite the heavy siege imposed on our homes. We mark this anniversary and God willing we are on the path to achieving our aspiration, which is the complete independence of the entire homeland.
Over in Sudan, the Rapid Support Forces launched fresh drone strikes on Al Obeid, the capital of North Kordofan, on Monday, marking the second attack in just 4 days. No casualty figures have been confirmed, but the strikes come as fierce battles rage across all three Kordofan states. Local media report heavy fighting between the Sudanese army and RSF, with government forces claiming control over Debeibat and El Hamadi. Tensions remain high as the conflict spills deeper into Darfur and central Sudan. And at the UN, Algeria, Sierra Leone, Somalia, and Guyana have voiced alarm over the spillover effects of conflicts in Sudan and the DRC on Central Africa. Speaking on behalf of the A3+ group at a UN Security Council briefing, Sierra Leone's Ambassador Michael Imran Kanu urged stronger diplomatic efforts to tackle the root causes of instability. The group also highlighted the African Union's key role in spearheading regional peace efforts.
Representative of the Russian Federation for her.
We are also concerned by the spillover effect of the conflict in Sudan and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which have significantly strained the capacities of neighboring countries, such as Chad and the Central African Republic, to host displaced populations. We therefore underscore the urgent need for scale-up international support for humanitarian response efforts, alongside intensified diplomatic initiatives to address the root causes of this conflict and foster durable peace.
Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, tensions in Los Angeles has reached a boiling point. For the second night running, demonstrators clashed with federal agents over immigration raids, prompting President Donald Trump to threaten bringing the army into the streets. The United Nations, meanwhile, has weighed in, warning Washington that militarizing the response could inflame an already volatile scene. Let's get the details with Yassine Rikti now.
This past weekend, Los Angeles found itself engulfed in turmoil as protests against U.S. immigration policies escalated into violence. Demonstrators flooded the streets, igniting cars and clashing with law enforcement late into Sunday night. In response to the chaos, the National Guard was deployed and authorities swiftly declared downtown an unlawful assembly zone. The unrest resulted in at least 60 arrests, with LA Mayor Karen Bass attributing the upheaval to federal immigration raids, asserting that none of this needed to happen.
None of this needed to happen. Why did we need to have raids here? It was very clear that if raids happened here, that the community was going to respond in a very negative way. I tried to make that case. Unfortunately, I didn't succeed. I was very hopeful that we would not have, that the federal government would not have deployed the National Guard. But anyway, I think it's important, period, that peaceful protest is a part of our American tradition.
By Monday, the situation had drawn the attention of the White House, prompting a heightened response. U.S. President Donald Trump, addressing reporters, placed the blame for the violence on what he termed rebel groups and lauded the deployment of federal troops, directly challenging California officials. He characterized the influx of migrants as an invasion and ordered top federal agencies to take action.
Some of the things you're reading about in Los Angeles, thank goodness we sent out some wonderful National Guard. They've really helped, and a lot of problems they were having out there. They were afraid to do anything, and we sent out the troops, and they've done a fantastic job. So I want to thank them very much.
In a swift rebuttal, California Governor Gavin Newsom failed a legal challenge against Trump's actions, accusing him of manufacturing a crisis. Newsom cautioned that such an order could set a dangerous precedent, allowing military force to be employed in any state, not just California. As a reaction at the international level, the United Nations has called for de-escalation, expressing concern over the increasing militarization of civil unrest. Meanwhile, in Mexico City, President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the crackdown, urging respect for migrants and confirming that consular teams are assisting 35 detained Mexicans.
No estamos de acuerdo.
Mexicans living in the United States are honest workers. Most of them in the U.S. have working documents or are U.S. citizens. Up until now, the updated census we have is of 42 nationals detained in these 4 centers, 37 men, 5 women.
What began as a response to immigration raids has now spiraled into a national standoff, where enforcement actions only serve to fuel unrest.
To come here for opportunity, we came.
As tensions rise, the path forward remains uncertain, leaving many to wonder what's the next chapter in this unfolding crisis will hold.
And now, for a look at more stories making headlines, here's Sofiane Kenturi with the news in brief.
Russia said on Monday it completed the first phase of prisoner swap with Ukraine following last week's peace talks in Istanbul. A group of Russian soldiers and the 25 was returned from Ukrainian-held areas to Belarus, with an equal number of Ukrainian troops exchanged. Japan's NHK reported Monday an explosion at the US Kadena air base in Okinawa. Local officials said it occurred in a temporary ammunition storage facility used by Japan's self-defense forces. The number of injuries remains unknown. US and Chinese officials began a new round of trade talks in London on Monday, following last month's initial meeting in Geneva, aiming to extend the fragile truce in their ongoing trade war. Manchester City announced Monday the official signing of Algerian international Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolverhampton on a 5-year deal. Sporting director Hugo Viana expressed his delight to the club's website, praising Aït-Nouri's Premier League experience and international quality with Algeria.
And that's the end of our news for tonight. For more updates, you can always visit our social media platforms as well as our website. On behalf of all 24 News team, thank you for tuning in to our channel. Until next time, do take care.